national anthem. Here we go. Oh, say, can you see?
Okay, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Matson.
So can you tell us what you're doing out here today?
We're out here today because we want to show our support for Colin Kaepernick and his courageous stand against racism and police brutality, and to show the NFL that there are a lot of fans supporting this stand and wanting the NFL to not sweep it under the rug, but to address these issues that affect so many of their own players.
And do you think the NFL is being unfair to Kaepernick?
You know, I hesitate to comment on that because I really can't say. And I think that what we're doing today is a lot more than being about one man and his job. It's really about the fact that all of us who want to end racism in this country have to stand in solidarity with one another. So that's what we're out here to do today.
Some people say that Kaepernick gave us some insight to what actually was proven to be true with Charlottesville. Do you think that's accurate?
Well, I think he definitely has amped up the conversation about race and about how black people in this country are treated by police departments. And I think that he did it in a very peaceful and dignified way. And we want to come out and show our support and protest in that with that same dignity and peacefulness.
Excellent. And then is this associated with Black Lives Matter in some way, or are they organizing with you?
No, actually this was set up by a man named Tim Scott in New York, who set up these events all over the country and just hoped that local organizers would step in and help to make it happen. So we have people from Rise Up for Justice, from San Jose Women's March that have helped to organize it today, but it's really just a pure grassroots effort. And I think one of the things important to me personally is when the Women's March happened and 5 million people showed up around the world, a lot of people said, where were all these white women when we were out protesting Black lives? And that hit home for me, and that's why I'm out here today, because it's the right thing for us to do.
And so finally, what do you hope to accomplish with this demonstration?
What I hope to accomplish is that a lot of times it's the haters who get the attention. And there is a lot of support for Colin Kaepernick. There is a lot of support for standing up against racism. And we want the NFL to see that they shouldn't hesitate to engage in this conversation. Don't be afraid of their fan dollars. There are a lot of NFL fans, myself included, a season ticket holder of the 49ers, who care a lot about this issue and want the NFL to be a part of the conversation and not try to sweep it under the rug.
Excellent. Well, thank you for the interview.
Thank you.
Okay, can you introduce yourself?
My name is BeltRaela from
Hi, Ron. Okay. Hey, so are you? What are you guys doing out here today?
We're just standing up for Kaepernick, for racial injustice, police brutality. It needs to be said that even despite the crimes against African Americans across the country, that even prominent folks are affected by it.
And do you think what Kaepernick was doing showed or predicted what was going to happen in Charlotte and other places with with our current administration and the climate of America and the racial inequality today?
I think it added to that. I think that across the country, across worldwide, it's just people are tired of the systematic injustices against minorities, women, trans.
So can you talk about the NFL and if it's unfair against Kaepernick and how it's unfair against him?
I think there's been a lot of talk about him being blacklisted and such, that he's going to be too much of a liability with ticket sales and other folks being against him because of his stance against, standing for the anthem. I think it's a bunch of malarkey that people who have the principle to put this aside and treat him as a human being, that's what should be what should be recognized, not the fact that he took a knee down for the flag.
And speaking about taking a knee for the flag, I don't know if a lot of people know about the national anthem and the 4 verses that in the 3rd verse actually celebrates slavery.
Correct.
So can you comment on that maybe?
You're right. I mean, I don't think that they just take it as a whole that it's an act that must be done in order to show that you are patriotic to the flag. It's almost like a blind patriotism. But going back to what you said, if they paid attention to that, they would see this is the lyrics to our national anthem and question that and question the fact that what does our flag stand for? What do the principles? What principles does our flag stand for? And do I honor those principles? Not just the red, white, and blue, but does my patriotism also stand for justice, for peace, for fairness for everyone? And it doesn't. And so we have to question that and question the fact that if we wanted to stand for these principles, we have to fight for those. And that's what Kaepernick's basically doing. Patriotism has to be earned. And protesting does not mean that you are not patriotic.
Right. So do you think we should boycott the NFL?
I think that more people need to be conscious and aware of what these actions are doing, what they mean, why people are doing it, and really see, instead of being triggered like initially, like, oh my gosh, so-and-so just took a knee down for the anthem, I feel disrespected or I feel uncomfortable. Yeah, well, discomfort's going to be a message. Why are you uncomfortable? And examine that. Okay, why is it that you are uncomfortable? Because a black man put a knee down while the anthem was playing. And then you'll see, you'll start to understand, at least understand what that is, whether you agree to it or not. And once more people are aware of it, you will probably see more people boycotting it because the message is resonating, and they're no longer being distracted.
Right.
So we will see more. We probably will expect to see more numbers of people boycotting.
And then, what are you affiliated with any groups?
No, I'm not. No.
You're not? Okay. Well, I appreciate your time and thank you for doing this interview.
Thank you.
Okay. Hi there. Could you introduce yourself?
My name is Sabrina.
Hi, Sabrina. So, what are you doing out here today?
I'm standing with Cap for injustice, against injustice and racism, brutality.
So you think the NFL should hire Cap for, or at least, or let's put it another way, do you think the NFL has excluded hiring Kaepernick because of his demonstration?
I do.
Yeah. And his demonstration, do you think it predicted or showed the kind of racial injustice we're seeing in Charlottesville and other places around the United States?
I do.
Yeah. Do you think we should boycott the NFL?
I my husband would say no.
Yeah.
I personally am. I can only speak for myself and what I do, so I personally am not watching any sports, any NFL sports.
Right, okay. And then, do you think that the NFL is a good place to be expressing your political views as a player?
I think we have that God-given right to express our views wherever we are. He didn't break any laws. He didn't disrespect anyone. He silently took a knee.
Right. Do you think he's similar to Muhammad Ali and his expression for his political views and not joining the military during the Vietnam War?
I think they're a little different for me. But I think he's expressing what he believes and he's standing up for it. And that's what I'm supporting.
And do you think there is racial bias with the police and the way they handle the public and arresting people and the brutality, let's say, the level of brutality between each ethnic group? Do you think there's a problem there?
I do, and again, not all officers fall into that, but definitely there are some changes that need to be made and addressed.
And what changes do you think we could make?
Profiling is a good start. I don't know, just being sensitive. We're all different. We need to respect one another's differences. Check with whomever you're stopping before you draw your gun. I don't know.
Do you think de-escalation should be taught to police officers much more?
Definitely. How to deal with the mentally ill. More cultural sensitivity. I've seen so many people whose body language is misunderstood. Including my own.
Have you been stopped by police before?
I have.
And do you think that they treated you similarly to the rest of the public, or do you think you felt profiled?
Definitely profiled. I was riding in the car with a friend of mine, and he simply reclined the seat. The car was mine, and we were pulled over because he was acting suspiciously. When all he was doing is he pulled off without adjusting his seat first, and we were pulled over for that in Los Angeles.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a while, but yeah.
No, sure.
And more recently, my son was running late for his orthodontist appointment. Well-dressed little guy, and he was stopped for running, near a mall.
Yeah, so I talked to a lot of people, and that's what they say a lot of times, that they're concerned for their children and the safety of their children.
I have a male child, and I'm very concerned.
Yeah.
Very concerned.
So what do you think we're trying to accomplish with this demonstration out here? What would you like to see happen?
I would like more people to realize that it's not just about one man or one man's job. It's about what we all need to do. What we all need to do to have a loving environment. I mean, we're just a mess. We're going backwards. We're going back to the 50s, how we treat one another, how we decide on schools, how we hire, fire, all of it.
Do you think our current administration has had something to do with that?
Oh yeah, definitely. I don't know if I can articulate my feelings appropriately.
Okay, well, thank you for having this interview. Do you represent any organizations?
I do.
Okay, well, thanks for the interview.
Thank you.
Okay, hi there. Can you introduce yourself?
My name is Douglas Edwards.
Okay, Douglas, what are you doing out here today?
I am here to stand with Kaepernick.
And did you help organize this demonstration, or how did you hear about this demonstration?
No, this demonstration was pointed out to me on Facebook, and I was I just felt we need to add more numbers to the people and show how we feel about a system that wants to tell you when and where to protest and you know, that something as simply as kneeling could draw such a negative reaction pisses me off. And the obvious blacklisting of the man, it just makes it, I can't do anything with the NFL. I was a long-time, lifelong 49er fan, a San Francisco native, and I can't even wear my 49er jerseys anymore.
So are you boycotting the NFL then?
Absolutely. Every time even the news starts talking about football, I change the channel. And want nothing to do with it.
So tell me about Kaepernick's protest. Do you think it's the right protest? Do you think it was the right place to be doing it in the NFL?
I think that when you want to protest as an American, that's just plain and simple, you're right. I don't believe there's anything disrespectful in it, or that's where right then they want to have, I don't know, homage to America at a time when you're feeling yourself you're not safe, your cousins aren't safe. You know, I also have had the same kind of attitude presented to me when I was in elementary school and refused to say the pledge to the flag when Dr. King was killed. I was suspended from school, and that was in San Francisco. You know, I serve in the Marine Corps. I think we all should serve, but I still don't feel like we're getting the whole dollar. You know, maybe we're getting 65 cents to the dollar of our freedom. And I'm not only tired of watching other people get the whole full share or more, but whine and complain about people oppressed. So I don't like that protest. You know, no.
So you served in the military. That's interesting because a lot of people feel like what Kaepernick is doing is un-American.
I believe, first of all, everyone should serve, whether it's in the military or the Conservation Corps. Everyone should serve because it helps you get to know each other and serve the country that supports you. But to suggest that it's wrong to protest being, how should I say, abused by a system, you know, to not honor the system, whether he sits down, you know, you don't see Marshawn Lynch getting a lot of grief, and he has sat down his whole career, he says. Somebody decided we don't want to see you kneeling and protesting, that just angers me. It doesn't, I can't back that at all.
Do you think as someone who has served in the military, do you think that you were fighting for people's right to demonstrate and express themselves?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's part of what you're doing is preserving the system that you believe in. And part of what I believe in is our right to protest and our right to petition, our right to complain. And you have the privileged class say, nah, not that way. You know, the only time you get any, in recent history, the only return we get is someone like Lindsey Graham, who's willing to take the Confederate flags down from the state capitals only after the relatives of people murdered in Charlottesville prayed for forgiveness. And, oh, well, I can't be against you now. And the question is, why were you against it in the beginning? Why was it okay to keep having the banner of the people that are pissed they still can't enslave me? You know, it isn't until we get killed and we go, oh, we forgive you for it, that you're willing to say, I'm willing to give you an American a little respect too. I mean, Lindsey, and he was a judge advocate general. He still is a reservist, allegedly fighting for our country, but apparently can't remember what that means. Let me move this way. I'm getting a little stretched out.
Sure. So, do you believe that the racial injustice that Kaepernick has been protesting predicted the types of things that are happening in Charlottesville and around the country?
Oh, absolutely. As we, I mean, either it's a resurgence of what has been under the covers, or I know has been under the covers all along, or it's the last death throes because the numbers under the covers are getting smaller. But we're not going to put an end to it if we don't pull the covers off and start exposing for what it is. And by him kneeling and the reaction of some people exposes who they are. Because not one of them is saying we need to worry about our fellow citizens or worry about their safety. You know, they are doing that sweet reverence for the talk that black mothers and fathers have to have for their kids and how horrible it is that we have to say this to them. But they're not also talking about the other side of that coin that says when black people are pulled over, they might be met with a reasonable human being or drooling crazy maniac that assumes their guilt for the simple fact that they are there. And, you know, and that seems to be okay. You know, oh, isn't it a shame that they have to have these sweet stories and with their scared teenage children? We're going the wrong direction. Complaining about Kaepernick is going in the wrong direction. And obviously from right on the top with the king of the Mayo people, we're going the wrong direction. I'm sorry, Donald Trump.
Yeah. So you think Donald Trump has brought this out?
Well, I think he's definitely helped people drop the covers and think it's okay to be what, they are. Hey, I've been going to Top Dog for years. They're even there. They're everywhere.
Right. Hey, so do you think there's a financial aspect to this, that Kaepernick is kind of doing it in front of the wealthy or in an organization that is very wealthy? Do you think
here in the capital of wealth in the tech world that claims to not be able to find blacks, every time you see a Google comment about their racial bias, they put down 2% blacks work for Googles, they want to make it more. They don't also mention 0% work in the tech field. They're talking about their kitchen staff and their admin staff. They're not talking about their tech staff, because people like me who've been in IT all our life, for some reason, they can't find me.
Right.
Because I can't keep my mouth shut.
Right. So what do you think this protest hopes to accomplish?
All I want to do is let people know we here, we care. Let Kaepernick know it's not a vacuum. I can only hope there are other people around the country standing up, because each and every one of us is a digit in the service of the hand, and we will not be able to show that we exist if we don't stand in a place like this.
Do you represent any organizations?
None.
Just out here on your own. Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you for the interview, and thank you for being out here.
My pleasure.
All right. Okay. Can you introduce yourself?
Brian Windham from Newark, California.
Okay. Did you drive all the way up here from Newark?
Yeah, I took
today?
Uber.
Yeah. Oh, right on. That's a long Uber drive.
A little bit.
Okay. So, what are you doing out here today?
Just showing support, raising the social awareness of the situation with Kaepernick, the fact that he's still unsigned. There's 32 NFL teams, 2 quarterbacks per team, that's 64 quarterbacks. And to say that Kaepernick isn't one of the top 64 quarterbacks, that's a whole bunch of garbage. So don't piss on me and tell me that it's raining, when the fact that his performance dictates that he should be on a team. Just because he's taking a personal stance in a non-violent protest, didn't hurt anyone, didn't kill anyone, didn't beat his girlfriend or wife, yet those people are still in the league. Yeah, so it's not based on performance, it's just based on personal preference of these owners not to pay him for his performance on the field.
So why do you think the NFL is singling him out specifically?
Because he's the first one that did it, and he wasn't performing up to his contract on the team. So if you're a quarterback who's winning Super Bowls, Tom Brady can do or say whatever he wants, not go to the White House and say it was for different reasons, just because he wanted to go shopping. So that's acceptable because he's winning championships. But if you're not winning championships, then you're going to get blackballed from the league, such as what's happening with Kaepernick now. Right,
but with Kaepernick, he was actually a Super Bowl quarterback, so he did perform pretty well. So he actually, I think he does perform, I would say, above average, or has performed above average.
Yeah, this league is a what did you do for me yesterday, lately. So just because his performance did slightly dip, they're not going to take a chance and bring all that distraction or so-called distraction to their cities.
Do you think part of it is that there's a lot of money in the NFL, and that's they're protecting the financial interest of the NFL as well as the clientele that they serve?
Just because it makes dollars doesn't mean it makes sense. Because the fact that you see all the Kaepernick jerseys, you see all the support, people are still going to see an electrifying player on the field to get those wins and still make a lot of money. It comes to personal preference and ideas that you don't necessarily agree with in making a decision.
Do you think the racial injustice that he is protesting is justified? I mean, that he's justified in protesting racial injustice? Do you think it exists?
Without a doubt, and he's getting singled out because he's bringing all those skeletons out of the closet to the public. So, he's being crucified now, but 10, 15 years from now, similar to, let's say, a Muhammad Ali, you're going to say, okay, he was the first one that did and started that motion. So he's going to get the credit where credit's due. Maybe not now, but hopefully sometime in the near future.
Yeah. So, do you think that his protest predicted the kind of racial divide that America has seen, for instance, like in Charlottesville and other places right now?
No, definitely. That's the rebuttal to his actions. And so the sad thing about it is it takes a white quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, to say, Kaepernick should be signed to bring more of awareness. So the fact that he is a minority and is calling out the issues, it takes the white quarterback to say that and be on Cap's side to raise overall awareness, when we should have taken him for what he did and raised that level of awareness with what he did. And as a result, you see these other groups pop up and support their so-called group or support group, when really just, they're just in costumes and they're just charading as a group, when it really is just a hate group in Charlottesville and all these other places.
Right. Do you think there's a racial aspect to the NFL, that they want to see the performance from their players, but they don't want to hear their opinions or their causes?
Look, what the league is like 85% black. How many black head coaches do you have? How many black owners do you have? You have one black owner of the Minnesota Vikings. So the fact is that they want to be used as a product, and they want to be seen but not heard from. And this is a clear-cut example of that. When Kaepernick started to voice his opinion, that's when he became an unwanted product.
Right. Do you think our current administration has anything to do with the racial divide in the country today?
Not that Donald Trump didn't condone it, because it took him 3 or 4 speeches to say that what happened in Charlottesville was wrong, but definitely by not standing up against it, you're allowing it to continue.
So what did you hope to accomplish with this demonstration out here today?
Raise the overall social awareness. If the people walking by saw the signs that didn't have a chance to think about it, then they're raising the overall awareness, so they can say, you know what, I can stand for that. I understand why he's not in the league. Or, at least start a discussion, because when you start a discussion, that's what all happens. You start the discussion, you get educated, and you're able to make a better decision about if you're for or against Kaepernick.
Right. Do you represent any groups?
No, I just represent myself and my values. It's my job to help teach and train, my son and other people, and just raise the overall awareness so they know all the facts. Don't just think of it as Kaepernick taking a knee, why he's taking a knee, what type of protest is it? It's a non-violent protest, yet it's been treated like he is doing something, he's not shooting, he's not killing anyone. And just raise the overall awareness of that and give them all the facts so that people make the decision then. Right.
Well, thank you for your time and this interview.
Appreciate
it. Thank you for being out here.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, can you introduce yourself?
I'm Brad Matson. I'm a big 49er fan.
Oh, awesome. And so what are you doing out here today?
We're out here because we really think that the NFL hasn't treated Colin Kaepernick very well. He's a 49er quarterback. We know he's a good quarterback and he hasn't got a job, but we really think it's only because he spoke out against racial injustice. I mean, there's some NFL players that have done terrible things. They've gone to jail. And you look at the treatment of those players versus the treatment of Kaepernick. This doesn't make any sense. I don't get it.
Right. So people like Michael Vick and the other athletes that have
Ray
been
Rice,
Yeah, they've been prosecuted for much harsher crimes, and they can still get a job in the NFL.
Yeah, they get a 1-game suspension, or Ezekiel will get a 6-game they keep him out. But to not have a job at all. So yeah, we think it doesn't make sense. And he actually didn't do anything. And if you ask his teammates, a lot of quarterbacks have big egos. He's a good team player. People like Kaepernick on the team. He's a good guy. So he didn't even do anything.
Right. And you're a longtime 49er fan.
Yep, go way back to the original days, and I saw the catch. That was awesome. I've been through, Joe Montana and Steve Young and all the guys, Jerry Rice. So yeah, a long history. I love the team.
Would you like to see Kaepernick back on the 49ers?
That's another question. He's good. And he had a shot at the quarterback. I don't know. Is he Super Bowl enough? We're picky at the 49ers, right? We want a guy that can take the Super Bowl. Now, I think he's better than half the quarterbacks out there. I think he's better than what we got. He's better than what we got. And even then, it was a big debate in our family. Should we get we want to upgrade or not? So, hey, I would take him back over what we got for sure. Whether he can get us to the Super Bowl, I don't know yet. But he's better than half the quarterbacks out there. He should have a job.
Do you think that by him taking a knee for racial justice, it was showing or predicting the kinds of things that would happen in the United States, like Charlottesville and other racial issues that are happening these days?
I think he saw something a little bit ahead of the time, and he woke up to it and he thought he had to do something about it. I'll tell you frankly, at first, I was a fan and I thought he was acting out because he lost his starting job. You know, he lost his starting job with the 49ers. He goes, hey, this was a bad time to do something. But it turns over time, he's passed the test of time. I think he did it in his heart. He thought it was the right thing to do. You know, and he sacrificed a lot to stand up. So, you know, I got to give him kudos now.
Right. And
we stand for Cap, baby.
Yeah.
do you think we should boycott the NFL?
Never. No.
One game. I'm boycotting one game.
I don't even boycott
I'm a big 49er fan.
Let me tell you about this. Colin Kaepernick definitely deserves a spot on the roster, man.
Yes.
He took a stand. Matter of fact, he took a kneel, which basically was a stand for what?
For racial injustice, man.
Racial injustice, man. You can't. Come on
for
now.
Bullshit.
I gotta get out of here, though.
Bullshit happening.
But we, Niner gang, though, man. You already know.
I know.
I'm an OG right here, man. You know what it is, baby.
I'm more OG than you are OG.
And so, do you think there's a problem in the United States today with police brutality?
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, it's documented. You know, but police are people. We're all people. You know, and we have all kinds of different people. But if you're a policeman, you got to rise above your own personal feelings. You know, and you got to help equal treatment under the law. We got to do that. And we're not, and it's clear, we're not getting equal treatment under the law. You saw what happened on Mike Bennett the other day. I tell people that say, well, maybe this, maybe that about Mike Bennett. If that was Tom Brady, would have Tom Brady been on the ground? I don't think Tom Brady would have been on the ground.
For those people who don't know, can you say what happened with Bennett?
In Las Vegas, you know, he was in there for the fight and he was just in there having a good time with himself, you know, his friends, and basically they heard a loud shot go off and the police just took him to the ground. And, you know, I think he was running. He said, I was running, I heard a shot, I wanted to get out of there. They just put him on the ground. And I tell you, if it was Tom Brady running, they would, you know, I don't think that would have happened.
And they pointed a gun to his head in addition to that, and that was on surveillance, and then they denied it, correct? The police denied it, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's equal treatment.
Right. So what do you hope to get out of this demonstration? What do you hope comes of it?
I hope more people stand with Kaepernick. I want to see him get a job, and I hope, in general, we raise the awareness about racial injustice. And I'll tell you another thing. My wife led this thing, and what I found when I look around, women are leading this thing. Women are leading this thing, and she made me think like she's taking a lead. I'm sitting back watching football, and she's brought up something that I believe now: white men have to stand up. It isn't enough that people of color and women stand up. Where are the men? Where are the men? And so I think we need men to start standing up, and I hope they do.
Excellent. I appreciate you talking to us.
Thank you.
And,
Go Niners!
Go Niners, yes.